Hey, what's going on? Zeusfer here, welcoming you to the PCL D-League Week 8 match, where we are going up against Aaron, coach of the Calgary Infernapes. Aaron took over the team, I want to say it was like week 2 or week 3. Unfortunately, someone had to drop just because of real life issues and scheduling and not having time for the league. But Aaron took the team over pretty early on. He made a bunch of transactions. He made the team crazy good. Not that the team that was drafted before wasn't good, but it's definitely a lot better now. Looking at the team that he brought regular Greninja, Pheromosa, Charizard X, Necrozma, Alola Ninetales, and Tyranitar. And the team that I am rocking with is I'm rocking a Toxic counter Choppleberry Miltank for the Pheromosa, just offensive Gallade with Toxic as a potential for chipping down some things. Choice Scarf Greninja with 4 attacks, a specially defensive Toxapex with just standard stat. Jirachi is more or less a standard set. It's a special, it's a physical set, but it also has ancient power to potentially get some boosts. And I also have a Rock Polish Flying MZ Landorus Farian. So looking at the teams, I figured he might want to lead with his Pheromosa, and I really wanted to get this Miltank set to pay off. So I wanted to lead with Miltank no matter what. Against the rest of its team, Miltank doesn't have any issues with the team really. He can Toxic any of his Bulkymons, it can Toxic the Charizard X in case it wants to set up, and it can take a hit from the Greninja if he does lead with Greninja. So I'm going to be leading with Miltank myself. That's the decision I made, as we are challenged by Miku Nakano. If you guys don't know what quintessential quintuplets is, Miku is best girl. There's no argument there. But there are 5 quintuplets are the main characters. But he does lead with his Greninja, and he goes for the U-turn here. And I don't see Life Orb. It could be like an Expert Belt set, or it could be like a choice set. And he U-turns out into his Necrozma, and I am so glad I went for Toxic that turn. I could have gone for Seismic Toss against the Greninja had I thought he was going to stay in, but I figured he was either going to switch or just U-turn. So getting a Toxic off on this Necrozma is really just clutch. I do go for the Milk Drink here just to kind of scout what he wants to go for, as we do see the knockoff. And unfortunately, he does knock off my Choppleberry, so now he probably has an idea of kind of what my set was. He might not know that I have counter yet. And we did see leftovers on his Necrozma there, so we kind of know what the set is a little bit, or at least we have an idea. Here he goes for the Photon Geyser. And seeing as for he didn't set up on that turn, I'm figuring he's not a set-up Necrozma. He's probably just like a 4-attack Necrozma, and so I just want to just chip this thing down as much as I can. I do have to Milk Drink this turn though, just because I don't want to go down to another Photon Geyser. Had I gone for the Seismic Toss, and had he gone for Photon Geyser, there would have been a trade at that point. But here he does reveal the rest. So now we know 3 of his moves, and we know he's not Chesto Berry, so I'm just assuming that he is in fact Rest Sleep Talk, but I want to confirm this by just staying in and going for another Seismic Toss, as here we do see he does get Sleep Talk, and unfortunately for me he does roll the Photon Geyser this turn. If I'm going to stay in here with my Miltank, I want him to either roll into Rest or roll into Knockoff, as my Miltank can easily take those. Can easily take a Knockoff at this point since I don't have an item. So I do just go ahead, stay in, and go for the Milk Drink. As once again he is going to go for the Sleep Talk, and here he does roll Rest, so we do get a free turn of recovery. And sorry for that little bit of lag. I don't know why that little bit of lag occurred when this was recorded, but luckily that's the only time it's going to have any lag. So I do just go ahead and stay in and go for the Seism Toss as he does wake up, and goes for the Photon Geyser. And now here I know I can live another Photon Geyser, and I want to force this Necrozma to go for rest, so I want to go for Toxic. But unfortunately he does switch out. He just switches out here into his Tyranitar. So getting a Toxic off on this Tyranitar is really good, especially if he is a Dragon Dance set. This would put a limit on it. Granted, seeing what he brought, I don't think he would bring a Dragon Dance set, as Dragon Dance is just so much more prevalent on the Zard X. Here I'm going to switch out, figuring that he's just going to go ahead and either fire off Stealth Rocks or a Stone Edge. So I do go ahead and go out into my Glade, which is my Mega Glade, as he does go for the T-Wave, which is really unfortunate for me. Basically means that all my Mega Glade really can't win me the game. It can stay in here and go for, can get off some good damage off on something, but it's never going to win me the game at this point now. And here I thought he might make the switch, predicting the close combat. I figured he might switch into his Megazard, or his Zard, predicting me to go for the close combat potentially. But he didn't want to risk me going for anything like that, so he did just go ahead and stay in as I Thunder Punch. And then he's going to go ahead and Stone Edge me, which is a sizable chunk, but not too much because I resist. And I am just going to go ahead and fire off another Thunder Punch just to play it safe. But because of the toxic chip damage from Miltank, the Tyranitar does go down. So Miltank does go ahead and pick up one kill this game, as now he brings out his second weather setter, being his Alolan Ninetales. And now here I didn't want to switch out because I don't really want to save this Mega Glade. I do have Toxic, so I really wanted to get the Toxic off on this Alolan Ninetales, which is what I go for. I do get fully parried this turn, and once again I don't want this Mega Glade at this point, so I basically sacking this thing to this. He does go for the Freeze Dry, probably thinking I was going to switch out on something. So luckily we don't get paralyzed the second turn, and we do go ahead and get the Toxic off, which is really nice for us. And once again he goes for the Freeze Dry, and at this range Freeze Dry will go ahead and will kill the Mega Glade. But Mega Glade did help chip down the Tyranitar, and it did get a Toxic off on this Alolan Ninetales. So here I'm bringing in my Jirachi. I know I have the Iron Head, which would kill still through the Veil, but I wanted to get the Ancient Power Boost if at all possible, because if I can get the Ancient Power Boosts, which unfortunately I don't, I could have put in a lot of work on this team. And here I don't want to take the next Dark Pulse, so I am just going to go ahead and switch out into my Miltank, because Jirachi can still potentially set up on the likes of like the Greninja if it is a choice set and it's locked into not Dark Pulse. As Little Ninetales just goes for another Dark Pulse, which isn't going to kill my Miltank. And here he goes for the Freeze Dry, which unfortunately for him I am thick fat. Which means I am going to go ahead and get a nice milk drink off, and I'm okay with how this is playing out, because now that his Alolan Ninetales is out, he only has a couple more turns left of Aurora Veil up, so luckily for me, that's not going to be an issue anymore here. Now here he brings out the Pheromosa, and I want to basically just sack this Miltank to this, just because I figured I don't have really a safe switch in. Like Lando was probably my best switch in, but I didn't want to take a Ice Beam. We did see there that he is Life Orb, so we do know that our Scarf Greninja will outspeed it. As I just went ahead and stayed in, basically sacking this thing and going for the Toxic. I could have gone for the counter there, which would have put a sizable chunk into this Greninja. Wouldn't necessarily have killed it, but would have put it really low, as he is just going to pick up the kill on the Miltank with the Dark Pulse. Now his Veil's gone, so that's never going to be an issue for me the rest of this game. Now here I'm bringing out my special wall, being my Toxapex, and figuring he is going to go ahead and switch. I figured he probably is going to switch into Necrozma. I didn't want to risk it and click Toxic on Greninja if it stayed in, so I just went ahead and went for the Skull just to get some chip, but luckily I do get the burn. And now here I figured he's either going to rest or Photon Geyser, so I'm going to go ahead and just switch out. I switch out here into my Landorus Fairying, actually, which you'll see in a second. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Because I know what his full set is, I know he doesn't have the ice coverage, and I figured he was going for the Photon Geyser, but I could outspeed and kill this thing with my Flying MZ if that was the case. He does go for the knockoff though, turn 1, which is really important for us because it means that we can still take one Photon Geyser and we can set up a Rock Polish. So now we outspeed his entire team, barring a Scarf Greninja, I believe. Or we might still outspeed a Scarf Greninja, as he does go for the Photon Geyser. And at this range that he's at, I'm not sure exactly what his set is in terms of like if he's bulky or not. So I really don't want to risk losing a potential sweep option here. So I do just go ahead and I fire off my Flying MZ. I figured while yes, Flying MZ would have been nice for the Pheromosa, Fly will easily take it out as well, and if he brings out the Pheromosa and I click Fly, he's going to have to switch out into something, which is going to take the Fly plus another attack, or he's just going to lose the Pheromosa. So here he brings out the Greninja, and I actually think I would have outsped had he just been Scarfed, but he does actually have the Water Shuriken, which is a great bring on his part. The Photon Geyser definitely put me in range, so had I stayed in and or had I not Rock Polished, this thing would have outsped me and probably been able to kill me with Ice Beam or any kind of water coverage, or I still would have just gone down to Water Shuriken. And now that he's going for Water Shuriken again, I know that he is choiced in some manner. I'm assuming Scarf at this point. And here I figured he is going to switch because of that, so I went for the Toxic, but it's not really an issue because with my Black Sludge, the Water Shuriken's really only going to be doing very little each turn, even if he gets like 5 hits. After I recover with my Black Sludge, it's basically doing nothing. So I'm not losing anything here by him basically sacking off his Greninja at this point. And yeah, so he's going to go down to about 20-ish some %. And now here, I went for the Baneful Bunker, just get one more round of Toxic off, just to see he might switch. He's basically at this point just full in on sacking this Greninja to bring in one of his 2 Mons. And thinking about that now, I figured I want to get a leg up on what he might switch out into. So I go out here into my Jirachi, figuring I would speed tie the Charizard if that was the case of what he brings in next, as he does get 4 hits. 5 hits on the Water Shuriken might have actually killed me, but anyways, I went out to Jirachi because if he does go ahead and go out to Zard X, which is what he does, I speed tie with him and I'm forcing him to attack and not set up a Dragon Dance. If he goes out into Pheromosa and I just sack my Jirachi at that point, I can then bring in my Scarf Greninja and kill with a basically anything. Here's kind of where I make a misplay. I go for the Thunder Punch hoping for Pair Hacks when I should have gone for the Ancient Power, because the Ancient Power would have done, I think, at least like 35-40%, even though I didn't have too much investment in my special attack. So now, unfortunately, since I didn't get the Pair Hacks, I have to hope that Rock Slide can flinch and that I can land the both of them, because one's not going to kill, and then unfortunately he does live, goes for the Outrage. Outrage is easily going to kill my Greninja, and at this point all I have left is my my Grape Juice, my Toxapex, and here we are going to see, I went for the Baneful Bunker just to get the Toxic off. This was another misplay, because had I just Toxic taken the hit, he could have potentially been locked into Outrage for one return, which then I could have Baneful Bunkered, or I could have just killed it. But here we see that he does have Roost, and because he's Baneful Bunkered poisoned, he's not going to take extra damage from here on out, so there's literally no way I can win this game. So Aaron is going to win this game here 2-0. Even with crits, he can still just Roost off, and yes, I do get my Black Sludge recovery, but I will never be able to outpace his Roosts, and so good game to Aaron. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through the rest of this game, because you guys probably don't need to bother seeing the rest of this. It's basically just going to be this for like the next 2 minutes if I were to actually commentate through it. But unfortunately, that does put us at 3-5 for the season, so we are for sure not making playoffs. So at this point, we have 2 games left, and I really want to try and finish the season 5-5. That would be, I think, a really good goal for the rest of the season if I can do that. I know we are going up against Love, and his team is crazy because I've already started prepping for it. And then we are going up against Blazing Squid, who I believe is in 2nd place in our division. And I think he's only lost 1 game, so that's going to be a tough game. So 2 tough games, but if we can somehow pull out 2 victories, I would consider the season to win. The team I drafted was definitely a little bit different than what I'm used to drafting. I didn't have an plan going into it. I kind of just drafted what I wanted to use, which, you know, I'm not upset about, because this is the end of the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon meta in terms of draft league format, with Gen 8 coming out the end of this year. So trying to get what I haven't used in this format, in this generation, if I can use it now, I can say, well, at least it's new, at least it's fresh for me. So anyways, I'm going to stop rambling though. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. Definitely go check out Aaron's perspective of the match. He's a great battler, awesome dude, loves anime more than I do, which is crazy. I will happily admit that he likes anime more than me, but definitely go check him out, and I'll see you guys next week when we take on Love and the Atlanta Aerodactyl. So see you then. Bye bye.